Okay.
And we are live. So
Hi.
I know we're starting like a minute or two early, but everything was set up and I was like, why not? You know, we're having a really great conversation.
Okay.
We'll bring it
Yeah.
live. So how are you
Yeah.
doing?
And I'm doing good. For as far as self-isolation goes, I've got it pretty good because normally I would be up on a boat in Washington by myself, which would be like they even shut down the marina. So no one can really come in or go out. And so it's been a little bit hectic up there. But right before they did that, I went ahead and jumped ship quite literally down to my top secret location in Arizona. And so if you've got to be in quarantine, there are definitely much worse places than to be than in Arizona with, your sweet stuntman boyfriend. So I feel a little guilty. It's been pretty nice. And I mean, not nice, but it's as good as it can be. I mean, even then, obviously, the mental trauma of all of this that's going on is certainly affecting all of us in the creative fields and every other field and everyone's aspect of their lives. But it's like I've got it fairly good as far as that goes on.
And how has your writing and, just how have you been feeling about like the comic industry right
Oh,
now? I mean, it's hard not to talk about that.
oh no. I mean, it's definitely been scary. Like when Diamond announced that they wouldn't be accepting new shipments for the time being, that was obviously I may have cried a little bit because I didn't know what was going to go on with any of the books that I'm working on currently. Was heartbroken for all the local comic shops that I've got good relationships with. So it's been really, it's been hard to watch and be a part of. I've been very fortunate. Marvel did suspend quite a few of their titles. Like they haven't canceled them, but several books are kind of being postponed for the time being, just so once we do get back into the swing of things, they can roll out books in a little more, scheduled fashion. Spider Woman is
Oh, I think you froze, or maybe I froze. Let me see. Yeah, I think Karla froze for a second here. I'm gonna private chat her. I think you froze on your side. Technology, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Karla as we get her back on, that'd be great. And we're gonna talk about Bettie Page, which I'm really excited about. I love the original Bettie Page series, and I'm really excited to see Karla's take on it. And I've read her Spider-Woman stuff and loved that first issue, and I'll definitely brag about that once she comes back on. Yeah, we lost her for a second. Let's see. All right. Keeping my contact open for her. But yeah, please definitely ask us some questions about Bettie Page as we go along. And yeah, we'll get that going. I'll message her. See. Maybe try her phone. If not, let's see. The tech was working. Oh, there we go. Here she is. I'm like, the tech was working perfectly fine before.
it was so good. That's what we get for jumping the gun.
I know.
Yeah,
We try to start early.
Yeah, we tried to start early, and that was our hubris. We were punished for it. Yeah, I think my internet went out. So just as I was bragging about how good I have it.
That's what happens. But yeah, so you're saying that Marvel has suspended some books, but Spider-Woman is not? You're still working on it?
Spider-Woman, we're still working on it. I am currently writing issue 5 of that and issue 2 of Bettie Page. So we're operating as if things are going to get back to normal eventually, and we want to have our books ready for when they do pop out. So yeah, Bettie Page is going forward. Vincenzo is doing some great work on issue 1. Really excited about that. And then I'm currently working on issue 2 so we can get him and Becca and Rebecca all the artwork for that. So we want to have everything ready to go. So I've been very lucky that the books that I'm working on are still full speed ahead. So we'll hopefully, I don't know when we'll all get to see Spider-Woman #2 or Bettie Page #1, but they're there and they look
They're
amazing.
being worked on. And do you feel like your creative process has changed at all during quarantine, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, even in the best situations, it's it's hard for a lot of people right now to be creative, to be motivated to do stuff. You know, I've been lucky because it would have been very easy for me to just become a little lump, because that's my default setting. But luckily, I've got other people depending on me, and so it's been a good motivation to, it's like I don't want to be holding up the chain for other people to be able to get their work done and to make stuff and for that to eventually come out. So yeah, I've kind of had to put my big girl pants on and keep going anyway.
For sure. And tell us a bit about Bettie Page. So we had David's run, which was the only run of Bettie Page thus far. So what does it feel like being the second person on this character / real person?
Yeah. It's a little intimidating because I had a huge goth rockabilly phase in high school. So I was always a really, really big Bettie Page fan. And yeah, David's run on it was a lot of fun. He took it in a big B movie, over the top, fantastic stuff. And you could tell he had a lot of love for the character. I think he was basing a lot of that on his wife and her burlesque experience. Mine, it's kind of going in a slightly, I don't know if I would say completely more realistic, direction, but it's definitely, for me, Bettie Page really did have, she was so iconic, but she did have a pretty tragic life. Especially it wasn't until the end of her life that she was even able to really start getting rights to her own image and to her name. That is one of the things that I do think is really cool about this. This is officially licensed from the estate of Bettie Page. And so what we're kind of doing with it is I wanted to imagine a world where she actually did get a chance to go out and be a big Hollywood star. And so this has got her going out to Hollywood. Would have been kind of right around the time that she had gotten a little bit of traction, on Broadway and with some of the teaser shows and the girly films and stuff like that. And so kind of taking this as if she actually did get to go out to Hollywood and really try to make a shot with it. And so that's where we're starting. But then it just kind of gets quirky. And we've got Betty starting. She's got a small role in this big blockbuster movie that is kind of if a billionaire, eccentric, genius director who really wasn't that geniusy tried to make his own version of Lord of the Rings, but didn't ever actually finish the book or just kind of skimmed it, and then just decided to buy a deserted island and create this island fantasy, a sensual wizard's journey, if you will. And so that's where we start with everything. And then the murders start.
Ooh, love a good murder mystery in Hollywood. Yeah,
it's. I'm a huge fan of Poirot, Suchet only. Murder, She Wrote. Nate Cosby, who's the editor for this book. His big thing. He was like, I kind of want to do it like Knives Out, and so we're kind of So it's I wouldn't say it's completely whimsical. It's still sets realistically, but it's got a really big cast of characters. That is how we're telling this story through. Because one of the things that I always thought was unfortunate was there were very few opportunities for Bettie Page to tell her own story. And so I almost didn't want to put words into her mouth. So what you'll see around this is people who gravitate towards Bettie, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, just because was always just so charismatic and joyful and sweet. And so that attracts people, but sometimes it also, encourages jealousy or pettiness or, all sorts of stuff. So we're kind of telling the story through all the people that are surrounding her, especially in like this big, fantastic movie set with elephants. So yeah, we're going nuts with a lot of this stuff. Vincenzo has been very patient with me demanding elephants.
All the elephants.
That may or may not. Yeah, it's may or may not play a large part in the plot, because why not? So it's big Hollywood, LA noir action, but also it's got a pretty good heart to it, I think. And I think it's pretty fast paced. Like, I think it's a pretty fast paced kind of murder mystery, secrets, Hollywood underbelly stuff, but also it's still focused on Bettie Page and just like what a great spirit she had. She was just this joyful, like her sexiness just always had this sense of joy and almost innocence to it. And I think that's what we're really trying to bring out in this one.
And do you feel like you touch upon the espionage aspect that was in the previous series, or is it more murder mystery?
It's more kind of like ensemble murder mystery type stuff. We're not going with the spy stuff. So this is a different, like David took his reimagination of Bettie Page and ran with it and did wonderfully with it. And then this one is just something a little different. But yeah, it'll be, each of us getting to do our own version of Bettie Page, which is, again, like you were saying, it's a little scary when it's someone who's a real person, because you want to be respectful, but you also still want to bring out as much as you can of that spirit and that joy that she brought to the work that she did. So yeah.
And that's what I love about this series in general, is just that you get to see so many different sides of Bettie.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, it's such a cool series and just a cool idea. I remember when it was first announced, I'm like, like that's so cool.
Yeah, and like some of the covers, like I just love the covers that are for the first issue. Like, I got Genuine, who did the covers for Spider-Woman, which was kind of funny. It's just like, wow, it's like I get to like keep some continuity across my companies.
Somehow they're all connected.
Yeah.
We actually have so many great like Bettie Page, Jessica Drew related questions that we were talking pre-show. I'm like, I wish I came up with those because they're so great. And we have some really good Spider-Woman fans here who asked us on Twitter. So we're going to start out with the first one. And this is from Jessica Drew SW, who says, what differences and similarities are there between Bettie Page and Jessica Drew?
Well, I think they both have like that really great strength. They're both brunettes.
That's the biggest similarity
right there. Actually, Jessica Drew is canonically blonde, but she dyes it brunette, so it's fine. But it's actually they both got like a lot of strength. They both overcame a lot of trauma, and kind of like traumatic upbringings and different experiences and stuff. I'd say the biggest difference is Jessica Drew like has a lot of doubts about herself, and I don't think she's like in Spider-Woman. We're kind of addressing some of those, kind of talking about how Jess never really like dealt with her past. Whereas Bettie, Bettie knows who she is. I think Bettie knows who she is as a person, a lot more than Jess does, or at least a lot more. She's at least embraced it a lot more. That's been the biggest thing. Like when I'm switching back and forth between writing these, it's like Bettie. It's definitely there's there's more of a sense of lightness that she's managed to bring to herself, and develop for herself and fight for. And like each of them have dealt with, traumatic histories their own way. But I think Betty has a better sense of who she is as a person. I think she'll still fight for her friends, and she'll still, if you screw up or mess with one of her friends, she'll come after you. But for the most part, she's got more of a sense of lightness and innocence to her than Jess does. But I think Jess has a great sense of humor. And I think they both have a great sense of humor. I'd say that just Betty's a little more sweetness. Jess is a little more smartass.
I could see that for sure. And they use both to their advantage.
Exactly.
Which is very cool. And how did Dynamite approach you for Bettie Page, or did you want to pitch something to Dynamite? How did that work out?
I'd been talking with Nate about doing a project for a while back, and one didn't come together just because I was too busy. And there are so many really, really talented writers who can do like 4 titles a month, and I'm just not one of them yet.
Hey, you're doing 2. That's a lot,
It's so I try to be very careful about what I can pick to make sure that I can do the best job on it that I possibly can. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm rushing through something. And so at the time, like, I was initially talking to Nate about doing something for Dynamite. I was just like, I really, really want to, but I can't just yet. About Bettie Page, and I was just like, I can definitely do that. The timing was just a lot better. And then we kind of got to talk about like the directions that we would each like to take it. And we kind of developed, something that would kind of go off like, similar theme of like the Darwin Cook Catwoman and LA Confidential and Knives Out, but also still kind of just fun. And so I'm pretty happy with what we came up with. And I think the first issue, it's a bit of a whirlwind, but I think we managed to cram a lot in there.
I'm ready for the whirlwind. I'm so excited to read it. And Comic Universal kind of shifts a bit more towards the Marvel area here. And he says, what Marvel hero would you like to write next once you finish Spider-Woman? Sorry, my phone's ringing, but I'll mute myself as you answer that.
Let's see. I always I love Deadpool. I love Punisher. I think I would like to play around with it. I've gotten to, I'm sorry, I'm adjusting my hair in the reverse video camera. This is great. I got to write the Punisher annual last year for Acts of Evil. So it was I put Punisher and J. Jonah Jameson in space, fighting the Brood, which
it's a good combination.
I thought so. People are like, oh, what did you want to do for this? I was like, can I put the Punisher in space? They're like, yeah. It's like, yeah. But I mean, I've gotten pretty lucky with a lot of the characters that I've gotten to write for Marvel so far. Right now, I kind of hope I never get to finish Spider-Woman. I'm having fun with her.
I, again, love that. We talked through email, but saying it physically, loved issue 1 of Spider-Woman. I love your direction. Yeah. Can't wait to see where that goes. And again, makes me excited to read your take on Bettie Page because of it. And speaking of Spider-Woman fans, once again, we do have some good questions from our Spider-Woman fans here.
Hi, Spider Babies.
We love the Spider Babies.
My Spider Babies are so sweet. I call them that because they are baby spiders just kind of balloon around. And the wonderful Just Drew fans have all just been spreading the good word about Spider-Woman. It's been very sweet and very overwhelming. And then they've also been likewise super enthusiastic about Bettie Page as well. So it's been pretty fun.
That's awesome. And yeah, love those type of fans, and Spider-Woman fans are the best. And Spider-Woman Daily asks, since you're writing a few titles now, how do you juggle writing each series? We kind of touched upon this a little bit, but
It is like I have to kind of schedule it out just because I want to make sure that the voices are distinct and I'm not just, like, I mean, as a lot of the Spider-Woman fans are aware of right now, I'm basically writing Jess as not too far away from myself. Uh, Bettie Page is much, much different. Um, and so I kind of have to schedule things out to make sure that, uh, like, when I'm breaking story on one issue, that I've got enough time to kind of establish the tone and the voice on that. So I feel pretty firm about the direction of it and the voice of the characters. And then to make sure I've got enough time in between that before I jump over, to the next one, so that I make sure that also has a distinct voice, and that I'm not just writing the same book with different brunettes.
Do you dedicate time to, like, one day you'll write Bettie Page and one day you'll write Spider-Woman? Or is there a day where you, again, take maybe 2 hours and then go to write that character? Or do you really try to separate for each
It'll
day?
actually, like, it kind of depends. So when when I break a story down, when I break an issue down, I thumbnail it. And then I never show the artist what that looks like. So on a thumbnail day, I can break story for both books. Like, thumbnail day, I can take the notebook to the park and socially distance, but I'm in a park.
Enjoying the
And
weather,
just enjoy the weather, Arizona isolation. And so on a thumbnail day, I can break story on both, because that's where I sketch out each page, so I know where the page turn is, and I can plot out what the major beats are for each page. And then that lets me know basically how much room I have for everything. And for me, like, even for digital stuff, the turn page is really important to me. Just because I feel like that's such a thing that makes writing comics unique. And I'm not reinventing. Yeah, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Lots of people do this very well, but it's really important for me to just make sure there's always like that nice moment of surprise, when you flip over, be it emotional or helicopter explosion.
And you want that splash on the next page. If you could get that splash on the next page, then you did something good.
Well, it's also, I want that little moment of suspense before you turn the page, like that last panel. Not every time, obviously, but I feel most times, like, you want some sort of incentive to turn the page. You never know when someone picks up a book, like, you want to engage them. You want them excited to see what's going to happen and keep them engaged throughout. So when I'm thumbnailing everything out, I can do like multiple books at the same time. So it might just be, thumbnail day. But then I do tend to spend a couple days just percolating over that. And then once I get into the actual scripting, and I'll lay out the outline from there of, like, so I've got it printed out, like what each beat is. Sometimes I need to run that through an editor first to make sure that they're cool with everything that I came up with. And then from there, I try to stick to one book at a time when I'm doing the full scripting, just so that I can get into the right headspace, the Jessica Drew headspace of helicopter explosions and Jess being sassy, and especially in this case, Jess being kind of like not having a great time, is a very distinct headspace from Bettie Page in glitz, glamour, Hollywood, suspense, so yeah, I try to give myself as much time as I can to let each book, I guess, blossom. And then I frantically try to write it all down as fast as I can, because I probably put it off till the last minute, because Karla's gonna Karla.
And hey, it's part of the creative process to put it off to the last minute.
That's what
you're thinking about it.
That's what I keep telling my editors.
But do they believe you? That's another question.
I don't think any editors believe any writers. So
That's a good answer to that. And we have a really great question from Spider Woman Daily. What is Bettie Page's adult beverage of choice?
I was thinking about that one. Like, I kind of want to go with like champagne. Like, it's like just like, a classy little coupe glass of bubbles. But I think honestly, I think she'd like kind of a fruity girl drink. Like, she would probably like, some sort of pink Cosmo. I don't think she'd be annoying about it, but I think she likes drinks that are cute. I mean, honestly, just put an umbrella in anything and she'd be pretty happy with it.
So she has a whiskey, but with an umbrella. Do you think
Yeah,
she
you
can
get an
accept?
umbrella.
It's like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, just put a little hat on it and it might not be your favorite, but she'd be too polite to say anything anyway.
That's true. So maybe it's just whatever's put in front of her because she doesn't want to upset anybody.
Yeah, it's just like, give me whatever you like. Just make it cute.
I love that. And another question from Spider Woman Daily is, would Betty and Jessica Drew get along? What would a night out on the town be like for them?
I don't think they would initially get along. I think Betty would love Jess immediately because she kind of loves people quickly.
Jessica Drew doesn't.
Jessica Drew's a little grumpier. I do think by the end of the night, I think probably like Betty'd be taking them out dancing to a club or something, like a cute, like a 1950s speakeasy type place. And I think Jess would be quite resistant at first, but then Betty would convince her to have something with an umbrella in it, and they'd be friends by the end of the night.
I like this thing too.
Yeah, I think they would get along. It's mostly because of Betty's force of will, where she wouldn't let Jess just go off and be a grumpy Gus in the corner. She'd, engage her. Like let's do stuff. It's fun. And I think Jess would begrudgingly finally come around to that, though it might again take some whiskey with an umbrella in it.
I think so. That'd definitely be a fun issue that could hopefully happen one day in the future. If we could only hope. But yeah, how about, we were talking about Bettie Page, we're talking about Spider Woman. These are all like work for hire type books. Would you want to do something create your own and just like do something totally in your own world?
I mean, I've got stuff that I've played. Excuse me. I've been drinking San Pellegrino, so now I've got the burps, which was a great idea right before a broadcast. Like I honestly, I've got ideas for future independent work. I've done, books of my own and stuff. I've got a couple people like that, we've talked about, we kind of want to do a Western,
Ooh.
all this other stuff. And, I've kind of worked on some of that, but honestly, I'm the weirdo in comics who actually really likes doing work for hire. Like I like playing in other people's sandboxes. And the other thing that one of my favorite things about writing comics is puzzle solving. So, if I'm writing something myself, I mostly know what it's going to be about. If I'm doing something for like Marvel and there is more continuity and things going on in that world, and they're like, okay, we need to get this character to this book in this many pages. And I love like trying to figure out like the little matrix of like, okay, how am I going to do that? Oh, it's like, oh no, I can do that. And then I can put in this hint that it's going to show up later. And people aren't even going to know. But then once it happens, it's going to all tie in. And so that is like, I have a lot of fun with that. Yeah, I think it'll be a good Western if I ever get around to it, right? Again, it's like I've been so lucky with the books people have asked me to write that it's kind of like, it's like I'll get to it eventually, but right now I want to do this. But no, I love Westerns. I love the genre. I love a lot of the really good Western comics that are out there now. So yeah, I definitely will get to that eventually, but for now it's like I really enjoy doing the work for hire, and it's not me just sucking up and being a company shill. I just Also, I also like someone else giving me a deadline.
Deadlines are, yeah, for sure. Your own deadlines are kind of hard because it's just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I can get this done whenever. But yeah,
Yeah.
when someone
And
gives you a
this, it's like,
deadline,
they're
nicer.
like, yeah, it's like, we need this by Friday. It's like, okay, I'll finally actually get it done then.
Yeah,
Probably.
deadlines are definitely nice. Some people wouldn't say that. It's like, oh, deadlines
Oh
are
no.
the death of
I
me.
mean, like, and a lot of people like they're like, I don't want to do work for hire because I want to do my own stories and own my own characters, and I want to do that too. But I'm also really happy getting to do some of the unique problem solvings with the established characters, and also it's like it's characters that I love. Like I love Spider Woman. I love I love Jessica Drew. I love Bettie Page. It's exciting for me that I get to do these, and like that I am entrusted with these characters that I care about.
And how did you get onto for Jessica? How did you end
They,
up pitching that one?
they asked me. No, they asked a couple different writers, I believe. I was actually, and I've told this story before, so the spider babies are probably sick of it. But I, uh, I was like camping. I was doing dispersed camping up in Arizona. Like, so I was literally on a mountaintop in the middle of the Arizona desert, just by myself, and was getting kind of intermittent email or signal. And they emailed and asked if I'd be interested in pitching for Jessica Drew, and I said, well, yeah, of course. So I went down to this old mining town and stole Wi-Fi so I could submit my ideas. But it was also, it's like, I was like, if I get it, great. If not, it wasn't my book. It's like, this is either, my story or it's not. And so I was just happy to be asked to, pitch some ideas in it for it. But, and then obviously even more happy when they were like, no, we kind of, that kind of works. And I think they were just they wanted to take it in a big, explosive, actiony, dark Jess direction, and I really like blowing things up. So yeah, and working with Jake Thomas and Lindsay Kohick over at Marvel on Spider-Woman has just been an absolute dream. Like they are just fantastic editors. I've been really lucky in the editor category of everyone has been really, really fun to work with.
And we have
And they let me do terrible ideas. Like they're like, what do you want to do for the cover of issue 3? And I was like, Jess could punch a dinosaur. And they're like, okay.
That's
I go,
fun.
yeah.
It's not terrible. That's such a fun idea. So we have Simon who asks, any characters in DC that you'd love to write? Would you want to write a DC character?
Catwoman. Like the entire reason I ended up sort of even getting into comics, like, because I was a comedy writer for a really long time, and hadn't, like, I knew a lot of people in comics, but I actually hadn't even thought about doing comics myself. And I'd happened to have this random idea about Catwoman and Poison Ivy going camping or something. And I was like, that sounds kind of fun. I've never written a comic. I'm just going to write like a little thing for me just to try it out. And I fell in love. Like, writing comics just felt like it felt like coming home. It was just this really wonderful feeling where, like, all the things I liked best about writing, I could do in comics. And that was just so exciting to me. And from there, I just started kind of pursuing, like, I was obviously, it's like, you can't pitch your fan comic to DC, or Marvel. Please don't. If you have any ideas for
That's
Jess,
the last thing you should do.
please don't tell me because I can't hear it and then it can never happen. So please don't do that. But so it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is a thing that's not ever going to go anywhere, but it kind of opened me up to the world of possibilities. And from there, I just started kind of pursuing that. And then things just kind of took off pretty fast.
So for Bettie Page, is this something you want to see as an ongoing, or is it something you have a final ending for?
That I think people are really going to like. And so we've definitely we have future stuff beyond the first arc that we've got planned out. So we do have stories planned, and obviously don't know how the industry is going to go right now, but we're plugging ahead, full speed ahead, as if we're just going to keep going forever.
Yeah, and one question, I'm going to kind of turn this into a question, it's more of a comment, but Super Mario says, it must be crazy when your creation makes it to TV or movies, like if it happened to Spider-Woman. Would you like to see like one of your stories go to
Oh,
TV or
absolutely.
movies?
I want my little Stan Lee, Kelly Sue cameo.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Every Spider-Woman movie.
I know. Well, it's like, and I'd also like, I mean, I do think the Spider-Woman that we're doing right now would be an amazing movie. Like, I think it's a lot of fun, like what we're doing with it. And you really can't go wrong with helicopter explosions and, chucking Deadpool off of a yacht party boat. So, I think it's a lot of fun. I would definitely love to see, this or like my version of Bettie Page or anything, it's like, but there's also, obviously with both of those characters, there's been very inventive, very great versions of the book that other writers have done. So I definitely like to, I would love to see something that, I've helped bring to life end up on TV or in a movie, but them's are the slim chances, but you never know.
I hope so one of these days. And I guess to start wrapping up, what is something you would like to, plug about your books or tease about your books coming up? Why do you think people should pick them up?
I think both of them are just fun. Honestly, it's like I try to make they're fun in different ways, but I think if you like Spider-Woman, I think you would like Bettie Page, and I think they are both really special books in their own way, and that's obviously part to like what Perez is bringing and Frankie D'Amato are bringing with Spider-Woman, and what Vincenzo and Becca and Rebecca are bringing uh, with Bettie Page. It's not just me. It's very, very talented people who are all working together to create something really cool. And I think both books are they're really fun adventures. And there's something I think that's really relatable about both characters to a lot of people. And you know, whether like even if it's like, and it not just for girls. Like I think lots of guys can find plenty of stuff to relate to. And Bettie Page, hoping to get her big break, or Jess Drew, like not really dealing with her past well and blowing up some helicopters about it. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff in both books, and we're still working on them. Like we're not going anywhere. So we're gonna keep making them for you.
And right now, Bettie Page is solicited for June, right? I mean, obviously
Yes.
things could change because of everything going
Yeah.
on, but definitely I would say keep at it with your comic store. The most important thing is to pre-order and put stuff on your pull list. So be sure to put it on your pull list.
Please do.
And just keep bugging them.
Yeah, we want to keep all of our comic book industries going, and so also check out on Twitter right now, Creators for Comics. It's a great hashtag. A ton of creators are putting up things kind of for auction. They'll all go to a fund to help your local comic book stores and book publishers, and so definitely check that out because that's a really, really good cause. I'm hoping to get something up there, hopefully soon, but we'll see what I can scrape up. But there's some phenomenal things that you could win in the auctions there, and it's all going to a really good cause to help support your local comic book stores because we need them for comics.
For sure. Yeah, and it's so important to do that now. And also if you could even get like trades or something from your comic store, that's so important as well. Just try to keep them active so you could, get your comics always there. So definitely support. It's a great hashtag. Anything else you'd like to plug before we head out?
I'm just chilling. It's a tough life.
It's a tough life in Arizona. But yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go write like a whole bunch of pages of comics. Which again, tough life.
Well, I'll definitely leave it to you to do that. And again, thank you so much for coming on. This is so
thank you
much
for having
fun.
me. This was great. And thanks to everyone who popped in and asked questions. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we do this again one of these days. Let us know if you'd like to see this again.
Oh, absolutely.
And thank you. All right. Bye, guys. See ya.